Jamal Liggin, welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. You're somebody that I've had circled on my list for a long time.
Thank you, man. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you.
Absolutely, man. So I want to get the listeners caught up a little bit. You're obviously a big time trainer now, but it wasn't always that way, right? You started out sleeping in gyms, grinding, hustling, working overnights. Talk to me about the hustle and talk to me about what were those early days like? Because I think a lot of people, they see what's on Instagram now, Jamal, and they don't really know the work and your favorite word, consistency, that came behind what you are today. Can we let my listeners know what were the early days like for you?
Man, early days training back in Oakland, California were a lot different than what they look like now in Hollywood, California. Um, I basically was working with close to maybe 20 or so high school kids. I went to high school actually with Marshawn Lynch and Josh Johnson and a lot of guys that ended up going to the NFL. I ran track and I played football with them. And my path, my direction, I guess you could say, was a little different. When Marshawn got drafted to play in the NFL for the Buffalo Bills, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do as far as just being an athlete, going to Alabama State, and then coming back home and dealing with my mom, who was a little sick from cancer, recovering, taking care of that aspect of her life, and dealing with other things regarding just trying to survive having a child. So with that process being said, I kind of gravitated toward all the high schools that I went to. I kind of had a good reputation amongst a lot of the coaches, and they gave me an opportunity to use their fields and work with some of their top kids at all the different schools. With that being said, a lot of these kids ended up going to the NFL and playing at really good high schools. They ended up bringing back guys from their school, like Florida State, Texas. I'm dealing with more guys from Cal, Stanford. So it just kept steamrolling. And with that process, I ended up wanting to expand my training knowledge and take it outside of Oakland, which is kind of unheard of at the time because speed training and was a fairly new thing. I mean, there was these Nike camps going on called Spark, and I looked up to Tom Shaw, and I got an opportunity to intern at these camps. With that being said, it gave me a bigger vision on where training could go as far as doing it in Texas, doing it in Florida, doing it in London, trying out new ideas and different, training modalities around the world. So I got a taste of that looking at Tom Shaw and wanting to take that to the next level.
When you look back, Jamal, what were some of the big things that you learned from Tom?
Wow, just organization and structure. I think we all do the same push-ups, the same crunches, the same back barbell back squats, but it's how you put it together. It's how you articulate it. There's a lot of phenomenal athletes that can't articulate how to train. I felt like I was gifted by being captain of my team in high school and college and being able to articulate why it's important and why we need to do this to get faster to my peers. I had a different way of, vibing, or I guess you could say connecting with my group of athletes that were on my team. And that just trickled over to being able to speak the same language as athletes when I got to the, I guess, professional level. Being with professional athletes is a lot harder than people think. It's not just being able to give them a good workout. I tell a lot of my interns and up and coming trainers that customer service is almost more important than the actual workout.
Tell me more about that.
Well, professional athletes require a lot, and it requires a lot of attention to detail. If you're not paying attention to their body and what you're doing with them, they're going to leave and they're going to find another trainer or they're going to find a different way to get what they want out of it. So it's my job, to kind of give them what they want. At the same time, even if I think they shouldn't be doing something, I need to try to figure out how to incorporate that or articulate why this phase in their training is not what they need at the time, from my perspective, of course, but there are different ways. Like I've had guys come in and they told me, hey, I don't want to do weights. I don't want to touch a weight at all. So me having the knowledge to use resistance bands, medicine balls, body weight in that arsenal of my training regiments has helped me. There's a lot of one-dimensional trainers that are very stuck on, we're going to do this type of functional movement. We're going to do this type of Olympic lifts. not knowing that if Aaron Rodgers walks in your door, which has happened to me, and I've had two of his Green Bay Packer teammates, Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis, that are lifting weights, and he's like, I don't want to touch a weight, and I gotta listen to that. So that's my knowledge of being a trainer, being able to say, hey, we're gonna do TRX push-ups and TRX rows, while Mercedes Lewis and Randall Cobb are doing bench press and curls on the dumbbells and barbells.
So Jamal, do you ever find yourself having to convince some of these guys, hey, this is what you should be doing and why? Or is it pretty much like, look, you know your body, you've been in the game long enough, whatever you want to do is fine by me? Or do you find yourself facing pushback at all?
Um, I don't like to look at it as pushback. I like to look at it as being questioned. I most recently had Najee Harris come in, and Najee was prepared to do everything I asked. But just like I had Terrell Thomas back in 2013, he just wanted to know why. And not only that, he wanted to know why and why did I think he should be doing it? And how does it apply to what he's doing? The ice skaters I have him do with a medicine ball and a lateral movement are the same ice skaters I'm going to have Joe Haden do. But I have to articulate why I need that unilateral strength for Joe Haden's position and Najee's position.
You said something powerful earlier that everybody does the same amount of push-ups and the same crunches. You do a little bit something different when it comes to customer service. I'd imagine that's got to be something along the lines too, Jamal, just getting to know your athletes beyond just their bodies, what they can do on Sundays. Talk to me a little bit about how you get to know your athletes. I've heard you mention this on a couple other podcasts. This is kind of what separates you from other trainers out there.
Well, it's funny. Like, people mistake hanging out and going to the club and being really buddy buddy with their clients as getting to know them, right? If we're talking about outside of the training world, right? And I've always been a firm believer in, like, you could ask any one of my clients, if they ask you right now, Jamal, come out and watch the game with me. Jamal, come to the club. Jamal, come out. Somebody's gonna say in the gym, Jamal's not going. He's on the computer. Jamal's not going. He's doing research.
Yeah.
There are certain guys that I've developed a really good relationship with, that I will go to dinner with them, and I will go out and go to their kids' birthday parties, and I will travel with them for vacation, to keep them in shape at the same time while enjoying myself. But I make sure that I have a professional relationship with them for at least 3 to 4 years. When they call me during the season, I sometimes forget I'm in work mode. They might actually be calling just to see how I'm doing. And I'm like, man, you played Kansas City, third down, third quarter. I saw a little hitch in your step. And it's like, Jamal, I was just calling to see how you're doing. So that's me always being on the bubble, on the clock. But at the same time, that relationship that I build with my clients, I try to keep it as professional as possible. And that's the message that I always suggest to the younger trainers is, don't get so involved in going to the club with them. Don't get so involved in jumping on the private jet, because the athlete starts to associate that with, you're using my money to buy bottles. Why am I, they don't look at it like this is the money that you may have earned from 14 other clients. They just know what you do with them. Mm-hmm. So, if I am giving advice to the younger trainers, keep the relationship as professional as possible. And if they decide to get you to come out with them, maybe it's for a new contract or they're signing a deal with Nike, I always suggest celebrating these wins, because it does build that camaraderie, it does build that relationship, and it builds a better rapport for your training.
I think another piece of that conversation, Jamal, is building trust. And for you, it's probably a lot easier now than maybe it used to be. Talk to me a little about, it's creating professionalism is step one, I would say. What's another step or two for you to help create trust with people that are flying out to you, or they're trusting you with their bodies and their contracts and how much they make?
Building trust goes a long way. It not only, it doesn't stop at the athlete. It's having a team that is prepared to be able to help them, in my vision, for the athlete to be successful. I have doctors, I have chiropractors, I have physical therapists, I've got nutritionists, I've got a concierge service to help them get a restaurant order or even a private jet out of town. And I hate to use that terminology, because a lot of trainers now are like, oh, Jamal's Hollywood, he's got a private jet. No, I got a private jet service so my clients could get back to work out on time. They're traveling with dogs. They're traveling with 7 people. They're traveling with a lot of different things that require them to be in the airport a lot longer and go through checks, they miss their flights all the time. The private jet they could get on and get off and come straight to me. So that was more of a convenience thing. It just so happens I get to reap the benefits here and there. But building trust with the athletes comes from understanding their body, paying attention, knowing what may and may not work, but it also works both ways. The athlete has to buy in. The athlete has to trust me. I've been with Mercedes Lewis 13 years, and we've had great seasons. We've had seasons where we just did okay. But he trusted me to be like, you know what, this is what we're going to work on in the off season. I want to focus on my track and field running. I want to focus on my long distance endurance. I want to focus on my mobility. So we attack these things, and we usually reach what we want to do. And that also trickles down into this locker room where other athletes see that, wow, Mercedes was killing it doing this. I wonder what he worked on.
I love it. One more question about mistakes. I'm curious. I'm just itching to ask you this, Jamal. What other mistakes do you think other trainers are making? Whether it's maybe it's not even work with professional athletes, Jamal. Maybe it's college. Maybe it's high school. But what's something that a mistake you're seeing quite often that you wish would kind of go away?
I don't necessarily think of it as a mistake, but I do think social media plays a big role in the illusion of what clients are going to be getting
Interesting.
or what trainers are able to offer.
Mm.
You know, there's a lot of trainers on the internet that you know have a lot of great content and they provide a great service on the internet. But then when you get to them, they may not have a lot of the pieces that are needed. You know, the mistakes I think a lot of trainers make is just trying to be everybody, trying to be the physical therapist, trying to be the nutritionist, trying to be the positional coach. Be who you are. Be the trainer that does X, Y, and Z and stick to that. I've never called myself a wide receiver trainer. When I had Odell Beckham Jr., I never said I was the wide receiver guy. When I've had Joe Haden, I never said I was the defensive back, safety specialist, any of that. I've always called myself a performance coach, but I've stayed in that lane. And I've made sure to have, I've made an option to have a chef. I'm not a cook. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a physical therapist. The most I'll do is put a Theragun on your back and give you a nice track and field stretch. And I'll send you to our doctors because it also gives you more credibility, you know? And if trainers are looking to make more money at the end of the day, this is another service they could provide.
So it sounds like staying in your lane is an important strategy for trainers.
100%.
Good. I want to get into some mental questions, some mental performance questions. This is kind of my home field. I'm curious for a guy like you that's been around the best of the best. How much do you think, Jamal, the mental game plays a role in these guys' lives, whether it's on the field on Sundays or is training with you? Talk to me about what you've learned. I know you're staying in your lane as the physical trainer, but at what point have you seen the mental game affect these guys either positively or negatively?
Man, these guys live real lives. I don't care if you come from money or if you're coming from, you know, the deepest, darkest hood of America. Everybody goes through some type of mental struggle, mental depression, and you got to fight through that. Whether it's dealing with, you know, having a newborn kid, which a lot of my clients are dealing with, being drafted and making immediate money and having your entire family, friends ask for it. Just being able to make the team. A lot of my guys are not on teams, or they're on the bubble, or they've just gotten cut. So training with guys who are making $90 million and they're able to go do whatever they want, and you're training harder than them, and sometimes performing these drills a lot better, a lot faster, lifting more weight is very frustrating. So me, I like to talk to my guys. I get in their head about fighting through it. My struggles as a trainer, I've been behind guys who have had less clients or more clients and are making a lot more money with certain corporations. I've been with guys that have not been able to necessarily, make the team over and over and over again. Or I've been with people that have not been able to take the time out and sit down and understand why they're in the situation they're in, regroup, and then try to fight through that. There's guys that I know that didn't play football for 2 or 3 years, and now they're starting in the NFL.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And by now they're retired, but they've gone through these struggles. And now they found out that they're good at photography, or they're good at making movies, or they're good at putting other athletes in better positions. I know several of my guys that are sports agents because of the situations that they had to deal with their own sports agents.
Mm. So what's been the key, do you think, Jamal, if you were to see a common theme here, what's been the key for some of those guys to get through some of that adversity? I'm thinking about injuries, not making the team. I mean, yes, we want to celebrate the Pro Bowlers and all that stuff, but that just doesn't happen to everybody. So what have you learned from these guys that have been through adversity? What's been a common theme that has worked well for everybody when they face this sort of adversity?
Wow, I've learned so much from, I've learned a little bit of everything,
Hmm.
different clients.
Sure.
Well, I'll use Odell as a prime example. He's been injured several times. But one thing he didn't let happen is he didn't let that stop him from trying to be back to that original Odell that he was. That one-handed catch Odell is always in the back of his head. I've Mercedes Lewis is not the tight end that came into the league that was catching as many touchdowns as he is. He's a blocking tight end now, and he's well aware of that. And so, if he would have let what the coaches have put in different programs for him to do discourage him, he would never be in the league as long as he is. His mindset would not have taken him to be one of the number one blocking tight ends in the NFL. And just going through a lot of the struggles of guys getting traded and not knowing they were going to get traded the next day. I've been in a position where I've worked at several gyms. I've worked with a lot of different trainers, and I've worked with a lot of different clients. I've lost a lot of opportunities, not being available and focusing on, worrying about certain different aspects of my life, whether it be family or being in different locations at the time and not being able to leave. So my main focus has always been, just like you said, just not getting down about discouraging things that happen in my life, but capitalizing on it and using it as a learning tool.
Love it. I always say adversity is your advantage if you frame it the right way, but that
100%.
people don't always do that. And you have a phenomenal quote that you said was that adversity causes most men to break and others to break through. I love that. One more time.
Yeah,
Adversity causes most men to break and others to break through. I'd love for you to paint that picture a little bit more for me. Talk to me about that quote.
man, I've been in some situations where anybody else would have ran home, cried to their mom, like broke down in tears. But I've been abandoned. I've been let down. I've been quit on. I've been lied to. I've been treated in a way that I honestly feel I didn't deserve. And it's led me to be stronger for my clients, for my daughter, for my mom. It's led me to be stronger for my staff. The things that they've seen me go through, the ones that have stuck with me throughout different situations, it has led me to a point where I've been a role model to people that have come from where I've come from. I lived in West Oakland, California, where a lot of people do not make it out of. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I was lived in foster care the first 2 years of my life, and the things that I've seen, I've been homeless, I've lived in the gym, have not stopped me. I've lived in the gym I'm sitting in right now because I wanted to pay my staff before I paid my rent. I've made several sacrifices that I know that I'll never talk about. You know what I mean? But I know that it'll come back 10 times fold, and it's coming back to me now. I'm pouring into my team, and it's coming back with different things that they're doing outside of me through different connections and different experiences. I have a staff member right now who's been with me 4 months, and she's phenomenal. She's going to start traveling the world doing this, and it took me 17 years to do that. She's doing it in 9 months. You know what I mean? So it's like those type of things that I see are what inspire me to do better. So me not paying my rent and making sure this person gets a check is okay with me. I've done it before, but I did it in somebody else's gym. Now I'm doing it in mine, and I know what's going to happen 10 times fold.
I also hear a lot of patience with you, Jamal. It's hard work, but you're also been patient. I mean, you posted just a couple weeks ago a picture of you 10 years ago on the floor writing workouts. I mean, it's not always this glamorous look. You've been at this for a while, but you had to stay patient. The Odell Beckham Jr. didn't come to you the very first day back in 2005. This took time to build. This is, I think, a really pivotal lesson for young trainers out there to be patient with it, especially during the days when maybe you're not making much. Talk to me about if you believe in patience as much as it seems like. Tell me the lesson about patience for the young guys out there and girls.
Patience is it's funny. I call myself the Forrest Gump of fitness. I've always just been in the right place at the right time, right? And it's always come from me being patient. Me working in Saudi Arabia for a few months came from just being in the gym after a 12-hour shift and being on my computer, building a website for another company. I learned how to build websites and do graphics, and it kind of helped me pay the bills and be able to send money home. And sitting at a computer for another 4 to 6 hours, and somebody walking in asking me to train them that I don't even know who they are from a can of paint turned into me traveling to Riyadh and Dubai. And being patient in this game is very hard when the accessibility can happen so quick. At this moment, I'm talking with 4 different soccer clubs around the world.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be able to do that literally 5 or 6 years ago without social media. But now, because of the deck that I've made with all the information that I have, I'm able to send that information to a soccer club. And the next thing I know, I'm in Real Madrid doing a presentation about JLT. But that obviously happened over the course of 2 years. And there were trainers that I told, yo, we should start working on soccer. And they wanted to, and it was a great idea, but it just wasn't coming fast enough. And I hate to reference this sometimes, but it's almost like the drug game or even the rap game. If you're not selling product or you're not making music and people aren't buying it, you're gonna quit. But then there's those few that don't care and they're still giving out free mixtapes. And they just fight through, and all of a sudden they're sitting at a Starbucks and somebody recognizes the t-shirt because their logo's on it, which happens to me every day. And like, hey, I know that logo. I think my brother from the Raiders trains with you. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I want to set you up with my guy. He owns a business. And it just so happens it's Rock Nation. You know what I mean? So the patience will happen. It's going to happen. You just got to keep fighting through. And I don't mean training 14, 15 people a day. That's paying your dues. The patience of it is being able to do that for years. I joke around with a couple of my staff members about taking vacations. I don't think I've taken a vacation in maybe 10 years. I've gone on work trips, but I haven't taken a vacation. And people will say, oh, you're always traveling. No, I was working. I got paid to go on my vacation. But it took a long time for me to get paid to go do something in London. I don't think I've been there for free yet on my own dime.
Funny, man. I heard a quote recently that said that chance favors the prepared. And you're talking about being at the right place at the right time at a Starbucks. The only way you're there, though, is if you're grinding and you're working, you're staying somewhat relevant. You don't just sit at a Starbucks and then somebody notices you. You still got to keep putting in the work behind that. Chance favors the prepared. You got to be prepared. You got to prepare like nobody else.
I sat at it's funny, I use the Starbucks reference because it's actually real. I was doing combine training a while back with a friend of mine. His name is George Whitfield, and he lived in San Diego. We were working with some quarterbacks, and every day after our 6 o'clock till about 2 o'clock shift, working with some quarterbacks, I'd go sit in a Starbucks because the Wi-Fi was actually better than the hotel. And this was leading up to the combine. So from January to February, I'm working on my deck. I'm sending it to 400 sports agents, CAA, Relativity. I'm sending it to every agent I could think of. And I got 0 replies back. Zero. And when I got to Indianapolis at the combine, I made sure I had my polo with my JLT logo on it. Literally almost maybe like 40 or 50 agents came up to me in the course of that week and were like, I know that logo. Did you send an email to the entire staff? Or
so they're looking.
I think my assistant sent me an email. I'd like to send some guys to you in the off season. And then it just started trickling. And that's honestly where it went from maybe 10 or 15 NFL guys my first year out here to close to like almost 56.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible, man. It's the grind mentality. And to me, Jamal, I think a lot of people are missing the grind mentality. I mean, people call it, generation a thing. I don't know what it is, but it seems like now finding people like you, I consider myself in that grind mentality, people I surround myself with, we're going all the time. We're always thinking about training. We're thinking about ways to promote our business and grow and grow and grow. It seems to be that we're the anomaly. We're the minority now it's not as common. So I'm curious, how do you help other trainers? Is it something you're just born with, Jamal, or how do you help people get the grind that you have? I know it's uncommon, but it seems to be that's what it takes. How do you help young trainers adopt the grind?
Stay on my hip. Stay on my hip. It's hard to force somebody to talk to a stranger. It's hard to force somebody to do things that I do that don't get paid for. I do probably way more things that I don't get paid for throughout the day. At this point in time in my life, I train 5 or 6 clients a day that pay me what I would make if I trained, 13 or 14. But the time that I used to use to train, now I use to work on flyers, work on decks, curate social media. I have a list of about 36 non-negotiable items that I have to do every day. Those motivational posts, that's on my checkoff list. If I don't post something in the morning, it's because I was probably working on a presentation and I didn't get to it. But I at least got done with my few non-negotiables. So what I tell trainers is stick around me, stay on my hip, follow me, learn how I talk, come to camps. It's not going to happen in a year. It's not going to happen in an off season. There are several trainers that say, you know what, I got the Jamal Liggin sauce. I was with him for 2 off seasons. I got the Jamal Liggin sauce. I know exactly what he does in his workouts. I know exactly what he does in every situation of camps. You know the structure, and that's what I want you to know. I want you to know how to talk to a Nike executive about what an activation is. And a lot of people don't even know what activation is. How to create these different events. Why Nike's not going to help you, curate these. They're going to say, Jamal, we want to do a camp and we want to get 350 kids and we want to do it in Texas. What are your ideas? What? All right, well, let's get, Von Miller or Saquon Barkley or somebody's cleat to push this. And let's get 3 different types of individuals, linebackers, running backs, receivers, to try out different versions. And let's put out 7 stations. Like, these are the things they don't teach you in the training books. Hey, we want to do an event for women 18 to 37. We want to do it on a rooftop in Los Angeles. What do you think? Okay, cool. I got to be able to talk about this. Oh, we want to bring in Gabrielle Union, Kevin Hart. We want to bring in influencers. We want to do 2 events, one at 9 a.m., one at 6 p.m. We want to curate this event to be 3 hours, 1 hour of cleaning at the beginning, 30-minute Q&A at the end. Like, these little things, these little tidbits are what they expect you to know. And if you don't, you'll get somebody that does. But trainers don't know this. They know 3 sets of 10, barbell bench, and then we're going to do cardio for 3 hours. They don't know outside of the training world. They don't know how to take their athlete and put them in a better position to potentially get a deal. Because a lot of athletes don't even know how to get deals. I've had over 16 different sponsorships. You know what I mean? I've had sports agents, managers who have helped me do these things because of what I've been able to do in my career. They take that leverage and say, you know what, we got Jamal Liggin here. He's got 20-something athletes. How can we get this supplement company to work with you? Boom, here's $3,000 a month. Here's a product that the product has that helps athletes get faster. Who do we get to represent it? We'll get Jamal Liggin because he's got these athletes, but he also knows how to articulate that. They don't teach that in the training books.
It's a very loaded question I'm about to ask Jamal, and we could do a whole nother podcast on it, but I'm just going to ask for one. So the trainer listening, they're like, man, this is awesome, man. Jamal's saying all this stuff. I would love to have a bigger impact. I would love to make more money. I would love to have some sort of a deal, but I'm just a trainer going hour by hour. What's the first step? We just give them one thing. So we give them 3, they're not going to do it. But what's one thing that those trainers can do to at least start to somewhat follow those footsteps if they can't be on your hip?
I think honestly, it's finding your niche. narrowing down what exactly you want to preach, articulate, show, demo, know what that is and lock in on that. If you want to have a Nike deal, you got to know what Nike wants from the trainers. You can't go against their grain. Sometimes you got to go along, you know what I mean, to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things I've had to do for brands and sponsorships that I honestly didn't agree with. I may have believed in the product or believed in the company, but there are certain instances where I didn't feel comfortable. There was a big period of time before I had my own gym where I didn't let female Instagram models train at the same time as my professional athletes for obvious reasons, distractions, clients' wives, just the overall appearance of things sometimes. And no disrespect to these women, but it was just I didn't want to distract my NFL clients. Now I'm in a position where I have other trainers, and these people are amazing people. I never thought they weren't, but I'm able to schedule them around certain time frames. I'm able to provide a JLT service for everyone now and not just professional athletes. But I had to wait. And there were a lot of people that disagreed with this decision. Oh man, you should train everybody. And I'm like, I can either way. I need to build my brand as an NFL offseason trainer. Now I need to go into NBA. Now I need to go into MLB. Now I need to go into soccer, Formula One, and so on. I honed in on what I was good at first, as opposed to trying to do so many different things. And that was what kind of ignited this go to Jamal to stay in shape, go to Jamal to get faster, go to Jamal to help your brand elevate. And I think that, like we talked about with the patience of it, that is the part that I believe that trainers don't do. They get really excited with wins, which we all do. I get excited when I get a big win, but I look at it for 10 seconds and I figure out how to elevate that. I figure out how to, okay, I got Real Madrid. I did a conference with Real Madrid. How do I work with Arsenal? How do I work with the USA national team? How do I work with, whoever their, I guess you can call it their G League is. You know what I mean? If I'm speaking in layman's terms, there's the NBA and then there's the G League. There's the NFL, then there's the USFL, then there's all these different leagues. So I'm now trying to maximize that. And I think that's the part that trainers in all fields, whether it's you're working with supermodels. I have 3 trainers in my gym right now, and I love their clients. They've got 10, 15 clients apiece. And I was like, why don't you work with the agency that hires these women? And they know how. So I said, look, let's put a deck together of everything you do. Let's put a deck together of the gym you train at. Let's put a package together for 10 models rather than one. You know what I mean? I love a celebrity client, but I would love to get the person whose movie they're going to be in. You know what I mean? Like, that's how my brain thinks.
Something I'm gathering too from you, Jamal, from this conversation and just from following you for a while is that you're really not scared or nervous to reach out to people. And that's such a pivotal life lesson, I think. And it sounds silly probably for you and I to say this, but there's a lot of people that are nervous to reach out to people. That's not their MO, anxiety, whatever. I love this quote that says, to have a chance, you need to take a chance. And for me, I mean, this is a prime example, Jamal. I had to take a chance, reach out to you guys a couple times to have me on the show. There's been several times in my life where I just had to take a chance on something. I don't know if it's going to come back or not, but when it does, it's so fruitful when it comes back tenfold. So talk to me a little bit about sometimes you just got to take some chances. It's not always going to work out, but you emailed 400 GMs and NFL players and nobody got back to you, but it worked. But it is because you took the chance. You got to take a chance.
It's almost shocking sometimes. I reached out to all these soccer clubs, and the number one soccer club reached back out to me first. And I was like, what? Like, in my head, I was still kind of like, yeah, I know what I'm capable of. I know my skill set. I know I'm going to provide a phenomenal service. But at the same time, you're like, what? It's almost like somebody right now reaching out to LeBron James. And LeBron James says, yeah, let's go to work.
Yeah.
I'm not at where I'm at in life right now. I'm going to be excited, but I'm not going to be shocked. But maybe a younger trainer who only has a few professional athletes is going to be like, LeBron James hit me back. Taking a chance for me is no different than talking to a girl in a bar. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to tell me no? Okay.
Then I'm right back to where I was.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm okay. It's going to be all right. You know, I've had people tell me no my entire life. No, you're not going to be anything. Your business is terrible. You don't know how to train. Like, who cares? Who cares? Like, realistically, what's going to happen? Nothing. You're going to keep working. You're going to keep striving. You're going to keep going forward. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to discourage me. I might be upset a little bit. I might be like a little angry, but that's a surface level emotion. I'm more so just annoyed that I got to deal with this. You know what I mean? And so for me, hearing no, I'm reaching out to soccer teams right now as we speak. Like, I'm checking emails as soon as I get done with this. There's people that are like, you know what? I don't think we need this. So you know what? I go to the person that I go to their competitor. And when their competitor wants me, then they want me. But you know what happens? The price just went up.
That's right. Awesome, man. Let's talk a little bit of training here. I love asking people like you who's surrounded by the best. After working with the best for as long as you have, Jamal, what's the most common physical hurdle and what's the most common mental hurdle that your athletes are facing? What's the most common physical hurdle and mental hurdle you're seeing from your athletes, the best of the best?
I think that the mental hurdle is probably the injuries.
Mm.
Coming off an injury that may have happened and you completely healed from is still in the back of their head. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not pushing off that left leg as hard as they used to, or maybe they're almost honestly feeding into the comments if they still got it or not. You know, and it plays a big role. And it's so amazing when they kill it, when they crush it. And I'm like, look, what were you worried about? Yeah, we got through it. Yeah, you had a surgery, but you're back on top. You're rolling. Your family's eating food. And I think the mental part of it is just pushing through that. I deal with a lot of clients who go through some serious relationship issues, breakups, dealing with, custody battles, just dealing with these relationships outside of their sport that may not be the most supportive, whether it's a fiance, girlfriend, father, mother, brother. I'm not just talking about like a girlfriend boyfriend situation. I'm talking about family. So dealing with a lot of these different aspects is the hardest part I see, that it slows down their thought process and training. You know what I mean?
Jamal, let me hop in real quick then. So how do you, as the coach, how do you deal with that? They're coming in and you can tell, Jamal, that they're distracted. They're thinking about whatever else is going on. How do you keep your athlete focused for 1 hour, the 2 hour, whatever it is that you have them with? What do you do?
Man, sometimes it's honestly talking. There's been multiple training sessions where we didn't touch a weight. And it was just figuring out what is needed to literally mentally fight through that aspect of the training. You know what I mean? Like, how do I get somebody who's just broken up with their girlfriend to come lift 400 fucking pounds? Like, how do I do that? Well, we talk. I as you know, and trainers know, you're a therapist. You're literally talking about life. I'm with these people more than I'm with my family. So the experiences that they go through, I may not have gone through them from a financial standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint, I've lost family members, I've lost best friends, to violence, gun violence, drugs, alcohol. I've dealt with a lot of different things that my clients have dealt with. I've dealt with relationship issues that I can kind of give my light on. And I don't necessarily like to preach what they should or shouldn't do. I just give them my perspective and how I've dealt with it. And for the most part, dealing with these things and getting them to get through this, talking about situations is kind of the biggest battle because they don't have anybody to talk to. It doesn't matter what age, from the high school level all the way to the professional athlete. As many people as they're around, there's not too many people they can actually confide in because they don't know how long these people are going to be in their life. And it's hard to trust certain people.
Interesting, man. Okay, so that's the mental hurdle. What's the most common physical hurdle these guys are dealing with? I mean, they're freaks of nature as is, but physically, what are some hurdles that these guys are having to cross?
Physically, just being able to get in here and get it done. I'm not going to say I'm the easiest or hardest trainer, but sometimes the combination of exercise and the program that we go through, the reason why JLT is so special is because we do run every day and we do lift every day. And that's jarring sometimes. Sometimes guys are just going to gyms where they work out in the gym all the time. We're on the field 2 to 3 days a week. We're on the beach, which is like, I guess you can call it my signature training area location. But like we're on the hills, we're on the beach, we're in the trenches. So to do that and come work out, a lot of gyms don't do that. You know what I mean? They'll go run a couple of drills and go lift some weights, but for the most part, a lot of gyms aren't working as hard as we are. And I pride myself in that. And I don't look at it as like I'm trying to kill the guy. I look at it like I'm trying to prepare him. All my guys that are in camp right now, I'm in heavy communication with their strength coaches. And their strength coaches are telling me, what did y'all do? What did y'all do? It's amazing.
I would love to get in. So I come from more of the high school development area, and I'm just curious, man. It just seems like high school is a little bit still in that realm of let's get the kids as big and as strong as possible. And I think there's a time and a place for that, but I still think even to this day there's a missing component of speed, agility, and quickness development. And this is your home field, man. I would love to hear from you. How would you tell some of those, whether it's a strength coach at a high school or a person like me who's working on the side one on one with some of these kids, how can we start to shift the tide a little bit and get into more speed development training? What does it look like? Where does it start? What are the misconceptions? Talk to me about speed training for high school kids.
Well, I think it just comes from like the lack of knowledge. And I don't want to say that anybody doesn't know anything. I think it's more so, it's just not incorporated. Like soccer players, for instance, they go play soccer. They don't really do too much speed development other than pulling sleds. And it's not their fault. It's just what the generation of coaches knows. I'm kind of in that middle gap, right? I'm 38. The guys before me, they were doing gassers and half gassers and cone drills and ladders. The guys under me are doing overly excessive drills. They're doing a lot. So I'm in that mid range where it's like, look, Mondays, it's linear speed. We got hills, sleds, or parachutes. We're also going to add a mobility and flexibility component. Tuesdays, lateral speed. So we're going to be working that sled pull, but we're pulling it from an angle, we're shuffling, we're karaoke. But I'm also going to add that mobility phase to that. So with that being said, trainers, it's not their fault they don't know speed training. There's no blueprint. There's honestly no blueprint. Most guys go to a track and field coach or they go to their high school and just jump in with the track team. That's always been the standard. That's always been the norm. Any football player knows, go run track in the offseason. But now, over the course of this past maybe 15 years, people are starting to develop these performance centers. And they're going to do things that require more than just running up hills. And I like to say we incorporate a lot of those things here outside of the gym. And it's helped with athletic development from the high school standpoint. All my professional athletes, these guys are 22 years old. They're saying, I wish I would have had this when I was in high school. And they're only 8 years apart. You know what I mean? Like the high school kids that are coming in here are doing a moderated version of what the professional athletes are doing, which I think is amazing. You know what I mean? We're not going too crazy with them, but we're developing technique. We're getting them to learn how to use their full range of motion. We're understanding why certain muscles are hurting and what they're not doing as far as utilizing a chiropractor or a physical therapist so that they don't get hurt when they get to the collegiate level.
One of the first times I ever saw you, Jamal, was with the tennis ball drill. Obviously, it's what you popularized. The videos are sick. I have borrowed it. I give you credit every time. Don't worry, but I like throwing them too. It's a lot of fun. It's probably one of my favorite drills for developing quickness, and kids just like having fun, man. It's just a lot of fun throwing those things up and around. I'm curious, what other do you have any other go-tos when it comes to building
I can't give you a
quickness?
soft, man. No, I have a series of drills. And the interesting part about the tennis ball drill, it's almost the icing on the cake. There's a series of drills I do before the tennis ball drill. The tennis ball drill is just what I show. And
Sure.
there's a series of drills after the tennis ball drill. But the tennis ball drill is basically my bread and butter. I've used it to help develop hand-eye coordination, speed, agility, quickness, and it's just fun, man. It's just fun, and I give it to the guys as a reward. They look forward to doing it at the beach, and I always see videos of guys doing a tennis ball drill, and I get so mad when I don't see the trainer working as hard as the athlete. That's the real spice of it because you don't know what these shoulders are going to do, man. And that's what sells the drill. So when I see trainers just lackadaisical throwing it, and it's great, it's still going to work, but it's not the drill.
That's awesome, man. I heard you mention too, I think it was Mind Pump, that you're a big fan of the sled. I have a book coming out this fall called Push the Sled. I'm a huge fan of using the sled as well. Curious on most gyms or most high schools, they have a sled. For kids listening right now, like, well, I can go, I know where sleds at. I can go use that. What can that kid go do? What's something that we can do with the sled?
Woo, multiple things, man. One of my favorite drills that all the kids hate is the single leg, I guess, bounding with the sled push drill. So you got both hands on the sled, and similar to almost broad jumping, you're using one leg and developing that single leg unilateral power. We complement that with Bulgarian squats or single leg pistol squats. Complement that with some hamstring RDLs, single leg RDLs, and developing these single leg exercises for me has always been my bread and butter. But sled pull, I'm putting the chains around them, put a belt on them, and they're backpedaling. You know what I mean? Or they're lunging, or lateral walking, or lateral shuffle walking, as we like to call it. But there's so many different aspects to the sled, holding onto it, crossover step. My one of my coaches, his name is Deron Johnson, played in the league for a while. The Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl. His favorite one is walking with that sled. He's making you pull it with your hands, and it's just like, man, this dude is nuts. But I love it because it gets the guys right. You know what I mean? So these different things that we're doing with the sled is not something everybody isn't doing. It's just the combination I think we do with them.
How important, Jamal, is variety in your training? Are you constantly trying to give these guys new stuff? Is that important for you? Or is it like, hey, we're just working on the same stuff? Talk about variety.
I implement new things when the guys are ready. I recently I saw a tweet or a DM from a trainer that works with another trainer that said, "Oh, he's doing that same stuff again." No, I'm just doing the stuff that works. I trained Marshawn for a long time, and we stuck to the foundational exercises: barbell back squat, barbell bench, hand cleans. We did a lot of that foundational work. Now we incorporated new things as he developed in his athletic ability. And of course, I implemented new things that I think he should try after watching certain games and seasons. I'm like, oh, that's new. Maybe we should work on that. So yeah, I incorporate a lot of things, but I also like to work on things that I see the guys do so well. Like Golden Tate was a guy who was phenomenal at toe dragging and cutting lateral. So I started implementing some drills to help him just strengthen that aspect of his game. I had another guy named Christian Kirk who was really good at just using his leverage to get skinny and get through the guy and get fast. So we started doing some drills where I'm holding him and holding him, holding him, pushing him and letting him get around me while he's got resistance bands. So it's like incorporating these things and different pieces of equipment that I've gotten a chance to use over the years has helped me work with the guys and develop their particular game.
Hmm.
And not to cut myself off, and I know you had another question, but we had a drill called the Joe Haden drill. Joe Haden was notorious for jumping in the air and getting that one-handed or getting some leverage for that interception. So he has his own drill here where we throw a tennis ball up, strap a resistance band to him, and we let the guys get about 50, 60 catches before the workout. So guys know, all my defensive players like, we got the Joe Haden today? I'm like, yeah, it's Wednesday. You're right. Go ahead, strap up. So I like to create these signature moves.
I love it, man. It's so fun to watch. One of my other questions for you, Jamal, was what do you think makes you different from other trainers out there? And as I wrote it down, I said, you know what? I think I can answer this question. Jamal, it seems like, and I have not met you in person, it's just been through social media. But if I were to answer that question, and you can feel free to jump in after, I feel like what makes you different is the energy you bring into the room. On social media alone, you can feel, man, you freaking love what you're doing. You're juiced up and you're bringing the energy. You're having a good time. Not to mention, you just did 6 hours in a row. You maybe didn't sleep very much, but you just love what you do. And that's hard to replace. It makes it very authentic. Is that what makes you different if you agree? And then where does that come from, man? The energy at 38, you're still loving this just as much as you did 20 years ago.
I think you hit it on the nail. Like 2 days ago, I'm back in school now. So I took class, I take a class. I don't want to go into it too yet. I'm going to unveil that a little later, but I'm back in school now. And after that, my instructor happens to be a DJ. And so he helps me learn how to DJ and, just create a hobby so I can kind of stay focused, don't get too overwhelmed with work, which happens obviously in the gym business, especially as a gym owner. There's a lot of moving parts outside of training, making sure the maintenance of the building is good, leaks, the clients are happy, checks and balances at the least. And I was here till probably 3 in the morning, just DJing. And I got up the next morning at 5 a.m. and went to the track like it wasn't anything because I was so happy to give a new workout to Mercedes Lewis. I was very passionate about what we had talked about the day before. And what I would think that is the difference between me is, like you said, the energy. I look up to a lot of trainers, and I notice the passion, and I feel like it's not forced with me either. If you come in the gym, whether it's a professional athlete or a client getting ready for a role coming up on NCIS, I'm going to give you that same energy. I'm going to give you that same passion because I believe in it and I believe in myself. So it feeds. The more you create this energy in this gym, we have some phenomenal energy right now as we speak, going in the gym outside, and the trainers are feeding off each other. And we're in a great place to where the reason why people come here, sometimes people just come here and sit down and chill and just shoot the shit, man. They just have a great conversation with us because they're in the area and happen to be like, you know what, I'm gonna stop by my gym. I know they're doing something crazy. And it trickles down to, like I said, the community of it. I have a Super Bowl party here every year, and we have 400 people here, and it's a great time. We have game night. We celebrate people's birthdays. Like, we genuinely care about the client, and we care about each other. So it's like, how can I deny that? And for a trainer to just give you a workout and send you on your way or leave before you even leave the gym is disrespectful to me. You know what I mean? And that's the part that kills me, just trainers not putting their all in every client. This might be the last time you see a client. I haven't trained half of my clients in years, but I still keep in good contact and good communication with them just because of the last workout and the rapport we built.
Sometimes too, what I've learned in my experience is that it could be an average workout, X and O's wise, kind of an average workout. But if you bring the juice and bring the energy, it turns that 6 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10, just purely from the energy that you bring. And they might not bring the energy, man, but if you do, it's going to elevate it so much more. And you can change the whole face of a workout by just purely the energy you bring. You could be doing some stupid ass exercise, but if you bring the juice, it really changes everything, man. It's a good
100%.
reminder, especially when you've been in as long as you have, as long as I have. You start getting maybe burnt out. That's what you got to flip the switch.
I find myself getting burnt out all the time. There's been several times where I've wanted to quit, but I didn't because of obviously how deep I am in the game, and just because I have a lot of people that need me and depend on me. You know what I mean? Regardless of what's going on in my world and situations that may not be going right in my life, I've got people that I'm responsible for. I've got team members that I'm responsible for to provide a place for them to be able to train and make money to take care of their families. So my problems outside of here don't matter. You know what I mean? And the client knows that. They're going to ask you, what's wrong? How's your day? What's going on? Something up. And, there's times we're human. You know what I mean? And I have a good rapport with certain clients where I can indulge this. But for the most part, I'm straight fed. I get to work. Got to get busy because this guy's trying to get a contract and feed his family.
As a mental performance coach, Jamal, one of the things I like to work on with my clients is building habits and routines of excellence. And when you said you have 36 non-negotiables, my ears perked up, man, because that's some of the things I try to install with some of my athletes. I'm curious, not all 36, but maybe what are two or three of your non-negotiables that really make the difference in your day?
Call my mom. You know what I mean? Sometimes I miss that sometimes when I get that text from her and she's like, "How you doing?" I know I missed that phone call. And ugh, that one hurts. That one hurts a lot. And just making sure I cross my T's on a lot of like the daily rituals of the gym.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Where it's like, all right, did I reach out to 5 clients? Did I read a chapter in a book? Did I look up some motivational quotes? May not be have to post them, but just did I do something to kind of get me fired up? Did I work out? You know what I mean? And necessarily, it doesn't have to be a 2-hour workout. It might have just been a 30-minute walk around the block or some type of mobility or stretch. And I think for me, the most important one is, did I learn something for the day? Whether it be from another trainer, or did I learn something from a book or something how to progress my business or my mind.
mm. I love it, man. So cool. Last question. I ask all of my guests this question. It's called the $1 million question, Jamal. You ready?
Okay.
$1 million question. You can take as much time as you need to on it. The $1 million question goes like this. What do you know now today, June 1st? What do you know now that you wish you knew, let's say in 2005 when you were getting started? Now, I like to take off the table that, no, there's nothing I want to know now because this is who I am and I wouldn't be here if I didn't know those things. I want to take that off the table. What is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew 15 or 20 years ago?
Um, that's a great question. That's a great question. Ooh. I think that I wish I knew more of the ins and outs of business.
Mm,
Um, I guess from a corporate standpoint or even like a small entrepreneur standpoint, because I just knew how to run fast, lift heavy, and provide. I would think a phenomenal service to my clients, a detailed service, but I don't think I knew the legal aspects of things, the financial aspects, even how to charge and what to charge, and even look up those demographics. So for me, it would be more so like the business of the training world. I think that I'm learning that as we speak, um, and it's not easy. And I've gone through some serious hardships and relationships that may not have gone the right way because of my lack of knowledge, or things that were not explained to me in a way where I understood what was required of me at the time.
mm.
So I think business for the most part. And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and I continue to make mistakes. But I try my best to do right and reflect on the things that I've done wrong to people by, and try to make up for that. And it may not happen as fast as they want it to, but it's in a process of me just learning as I go.
Mm.
And I don't fault people that do things to me looking back at it, because I look at it like they just might not have the knowledge that I know now, or vice versa.
Mm. I love
Yeah,
it.
business for me, and understanding things from a corporate standpoint and how things work rather than just getting mad about things. Like I said, there's a lot of surface level emotions. And I don't think, it's not necessarily being mad at businesses, or I think it's just more ignorance on my end, or just not knowing.
I think there's still a missing gap in kind of that spot in the industry for trainers. They just don't, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, Jamal, but it seems like there's not a lot of education information about even the simple things, how much to charge, the sessions, and some of the financial things that go behind it. It almost makes me think of like, we in high school we never get to learn about the things that are important, like taxes and some of those things. Sometimes it's the same as when you're training, right? Why aren't there some of those things? So who knows if there's any course or something that you put out there about that, man? I'd be all ears just to learn from a guy like you.
I'm working on that as we speak. That's one thing that I would like to share, that as I go into this phase of my life where I've gone through several experiences, I've always been asked these questions, and doing these podcasts is always a blessing to me, because it gives me a chance to not be able to show that I'm just a trainer, or I'm the guy that owns a gym that's almost like a club. It gives more insight on my mindset and why I do things. So I always like doing podcasts and talking with other people, and I've had opportunities to speak in front of several people, and so that's my passion now. Being able to talk about entrepreneurship. I don't even like calling it being a trainer. Obviously, that's my niche and who I gravitate and who wants to learn. But I love to help chefs, DJs, photographers, anybody in the entrepreneurial space that's just curious about things. Because I'm still learning too. And it gives me a chance to understand, like, this is what you go through. That's interesting. I'm in the fitness industry and we're going through the same situations. So yeah, being able to talk about these things to groups of people is my direction in life. And I look up to guys like Tim Grover.
Hmm.
And Tim Grover is phenomenal. If people don't know who Tim Grover is, trained Michael Jordan, Kobe, all these guys. And now he talks about these experiences. And so I think I'm going in that direction. I was going in that direction on accident. And now it's kind of like turned into a passion. So while I'm still training, I'm talking about these experiences, and I'm still, it's like being a mechanic. I'm still working on a couple cars while I'm learning how to own the shop.
Cool, man. Well, I'm going to continue to keep learning from you. How else can as we close down, how else can my listeners support you and JLT?
They can go to the website if you live in the Los Angeles area or you're visiting Los Angeles and want to come by the gym and work out with myself or one of my phenomenal trainers, or jump in the PT room that I'm in right now and work with some of my physical therapists and chiropractors. They can go to www.jlttrain.com. And my first and last name is my Instagram and social media. JLT_performance is the gym's social media. But yeah, pretty soon I'll be able to provide some courses for people that are interested in learning having a deeper conversation with me about the training industry.
Man, sign me up first. I'm in.
I got you, man. I give you the VIP package.
Appreciate you. Jamal, thanks. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you. And anytime, I'd love to be back on your show and talk shop again.
Awesome.